First question was, how would you spend $50 million to meet people's needs? Our first solution was addressing homelessness, finding homes for people, especially as it gets colder out. Second was revamp and extend SEPTA's accessibility so that the system is accessible system-wide instead of just at Dilworth Plaza. Creating more ESL classes for recent migrants. Expanding internet access in the city. Support for essential services such as healthcare, legal services, housing, and debt forgiveness for utilities. Food access and community gardens, especially healthy food and locally grown food. Income for moms and caregivers, supplemental income for moms and caregivers. More support for domestic violence shelters. And support for home maintenance, individuals to perform maintenance on their homes.
What can we do now without funding?
What can we do now without funding to improve and fix our city? Seize abandoned lots and spaces and transform them into more useful spaces. Create inter and intro community outreach and parties so we get to know our neighbors and people in other communities. Create work parties to help people work on their houses and fix up their neighborhoods. Share resources and skills that we have. Bulk food buying and co-ops. Barter and swap networks. Creating skill shares and free schools. And expanding, sharing healthcare skills that we all have.
What things should we do to pressure the city?
What things should we do to pressure the city that don't involve money? Creating volunteer mediation and conflict resolution workshops. Eliminating the curfew on youth. Eliminating the stop and frisk policy. Reducing police presence at Occupy Philly. Supporting the Philly Rage proposal to remove gender stickers on SEPTA passes. Condoning public art and gardens and abandoned spaces.
Vacant housing? Take over vacant housing?
Allowing people to take over vacant housing and transform vacant housing and vacant lots. Stopping foreclosures on people's homes. Decriminalizing drugs and sex work. And let Occupy Philly stay at Dilworth Plaza.
We said a lot of the same stuff. I mean, overlapping. How to spend $50 million. We've got housing, education, healthcare, food, medicine, free municipal Wi-Fi, 24-hour libraries, towards a guaranteed income base wage, a fund for single mothers, and safe spaces for women. So, and what the city can do right now without having to do anything, without falling on the excuse that we don't have money, decarcerate, and stop and frisk, and de-police Occupy Philly. So what else did we say? Set up online clearinghouse of housing programs and help communities organize. So one of the things that we can do is we can organize, and that doesn't take much resources. So the last one, ready for the next sheet. So we also said occupy abandoned buildings, organize, do guerrilla gardening, organize community healthcare and education. So work with each other, and also mapping abandoned spaces and distributing that information so that people know what spaces are out there that we can take over. And I'm missing one. Reappropriate resources, like, so reappropriate is just a nice way of saying take. Things like water, electricity, gas, money, and food. So, hooray, it sounds like we said a lot of the same things as other groups. Who's next? Thank you.
How would we spend $50 million to meet people's needs? Free healthcare, including dental, medical, and vision. Supporting collective programs for healthcare. Homes end the AIDS housing waiting list. End 30-day waiting list for subsidized housing. Be creative with the abandoned housing that is all over our city. Rehabilitate houses that are falling down. Spend money to keep people in their homes. Don't spend it to force them out of them. Small schools connected to communities. Social services, psychological and social services in schools, and community-based independent newspapers. Also supporting cooperative businesses and creating them. Okay, things we should pressure the city to do that don't cost money. Stop foreclosing homes. Tax corporations and big non-profits like colleges. Force every corporation and organization to pay their fair share. I have no idea what this says. Oh, police out of schools. Is that Cran? Use empty libraries or school buildings at night to teach adults. Decriminalizing sex workers and drug convictions. Stop and frisk, as well as curfew. And stop penalizing folks on basis of criminal records for public assistance. Also, more bike lanes. Spay and neuter and create healthy pets. And real green jobs. Stop evicting community gardens and ban the box, which is I think when you don't factor in someone's criminal record for getting a job, right? All right, awesome. This is things to do. Why am I talking? This is what we can do without city. Yes.
You're the intern.
Okay. What we can do without funding or approval to fix our city. Reclaim, occupy spaces, land trusts, gardens, collective homes. Collective houses. Neighborhood budget councils and general assemblies, worker-run cooperatives, mutual aid like time banking and Skillshare, and compensating each other for our labor in different ways. Transformative justice, healthcare collectives. Yay!
All right, I guess we had a lot of the same ideas and same things going on with that that everybody's spoken about, which is good because we didn't really collaborate between the groups. So. How could the money be spent? Obviously, we've been talking about a lot about abandoned houses and abandoned properties. Maybe we can get those back up and running and something that serves the community again and gives people homes, which is obviously the root of a lot of things. Restore funding, a lot of funding that's disappeared throughout the city. Things for youth and after school and anti-violence programs. Better funding for schools in general. Smaller classrooms, things that really make education really effective and can bring up the future. Fund assistance and create a system of free public transit. And trying to find things that weren't already spoken here. I think we reiterated a lot of what everybody said over and over again. We should have things that we can pressure the city to do is find better systems for reclaiming and repurposing all these abandoned homes and buildings and all these things that are going on. If we put a lot of time and effort into a community garden that's rogue, that's in an abandoned lot, we want to make sure it's still going to be there and the city isn't going to come and try and take it away for some ridiculous reason. And if people are occupying homes that are empty, to have them not get kicked out. There was someone mentioned a land value tax shift and just different ways of taxing the city, taxing people that aren't getting taxed right now that could really benefit what's struggling in this city. And no more billboards and basically community control of media as well. And what can we do without necessarily having money for that? Once again, as everybody said, we need to take over abandoned homes and buildings. There's so much of it in this city and such a need for all these spaces. We can create community gardens. We can build community power. Have a GA in the hood, as it's written on here. Just talking with our neighbors, and as people have come together and made projects out of basically just people power and community here, it can happen in all these neighborhoods, and it already is, and it does, and we just need to encourage that and keep it going on. And occupy the workplace, worker self-management, occupy the land. All the vacant lots should be made into a garden, a farm, or something useful. And I think that's all we have.
All right, everyone. Our time is about up on the mic, so I just wanted to wrap things up. A couple people asked me, do we indeed have $50 million? And the answer is yes. And so invite you all on a scavenger hunt to find it here in downtown Philadelphia. There's a Wells Fargo across the street, the Comcast building over there, GlaxoSmithKline, and Citizen TD Bank. So imagine if you all just go look in those skyscrapers, you'll be able to find them.